The OP1 field is one of my favorite synthesizers, and a sound that I recently discovered on it that I love making is a crunchy lo-fi piano, so I want to walk you through how to make this sound on the OP1 field. Also, if you like how it sounds, I have these samples available on my Patreon. If you don't have an OP1 field, you can get it there and use it in the sampler of your choice. Let's get into it. All right, the first thing we need to do is load up Dr. Wave, which is one of the synthesizers on this machine, and you get 4 parameters. You get a wave parameter, you get a filter, you get the phase, and then you get chorusing. Now, to make this piano, we need to turn the chorus all the way down because it just adds some modulation and it makes things weird, and we don't want weird with this one. Next, on the wave, we need to find a sine wave, and unfortunately, you can see this graphic is not updating. You have to play notes and it will update. Let's mess with the filter a little bit too. Make sure it's turned up. There we go. And now we have to mess around with the phase. Actually, around 48 is typically good. There we go. You see a sine is starting to form, which is exactly what we want here. We want a sine wave, and we want it with these jagged edges, these square-like edges. This is what makes the piano sound bit reduced without adding any bit reduction. Now, what I'm going to do is mess with the phase a little bit to get this to line up just perfectly. There we go. Now it's already starting to sound like a piano. The next important thing is the amp envelope. Now you have a couple options here. You can make it very like plucky sounding almost by having no attack, or you can add a little bit of attack and let the sound just fade in. I'm gonna do it with a very fast attack. Now, if you want this to behave more like a real piano, you can make this decay a little bit longer so that when you are holding the notes, it fades out slowly. Simple enough. And then I would keep the release low. So again, it's like a real piano where if you let go of the note, it stops playing. Next, let's get into the effects. There's a couple of different effects I like for a lo-fi piano, and we can go in those directions. So the first is keeping it nice and simple. It's the delay or reverb direction. Now, Mother is a phenomenal reverb on this machine that I just love, and this is how it sounds by default. So it just makes everything sound much more expansive. I like turning the color down, which makes this a darker reverb, so those high frequencies don't get captured by the reverb. And the distance, if we turn it all the way up, it basically turns into an infinite reverb that goes on for a very long time, which I don't like. I turn this down around 20 to 30 region, and then you can mess with the mix to taste. I like it on the lower end. Already a nice lo-fi piano right there. If we don't want to go the reverb route, we can go the delay route too, which is another simple effect. Now, the way that the delay works is if we turn this all the way up, it will just send it more to the delay. Feedback, I like to keep around the 40 range, and then I like turning the speed up. And that's how the delay sounds. It's nice and simple. That's the path to go down if you want to keep things pretty straightforward, nothing crazy. Now, if we do want to get a little weird, we can go with the phone effect, which adds some grittiness. It adds texture to the piano that we're making. And to get it to sound good, we need to tune it so that it fits the notes that we are playing. So the first thing we are going to mess with is this tone right here. All right, you can hear that sounds odd. I don't quite know what the Bode or the GSM parameters do, so I just twist knobs until it sounds cool. And we can turn the dry wet down, which is what the telemetry does, so it's more subtle. The other weird effect that you can use is the cow effect, which when you turn the frequency up a bunch, it sounds weird. It sounds like you are either ring modulating really quickly or you're doing FM synthesis, something like that. But the one difference here, which on the phone, it tracks the pitch of whatever tone that you tune it to. Whereas on here, it does not. So it's always going to be the same frequency. That's why I like setting this to a lower value, So it kind of does some flanging chorusy type things. And then if you turn this delay up, it gets slower. If you turn it down, it's very fast. And if you turn up the feedback, it just sounds more like lasers. So I like keeping the feedback somewhere in the middle and then doing a pretty fast delay around like 20 to 25. And then we can mess with this sideband, which switches up the character. All right, for simplicity's sake, I will keep this on the mother reverb as we get into the LFO, which is another area that we can use to add some more flavor to this. And one thing I love using is the tremolo LFO. It is just a very wonderful LFO that gives you access to 2 parameters. The OP1 field only gives you 1 LFO per synth, so you gotta use as much as you can. And this one gives you access to 2 very useful parameters, being volume down here and pitch up here, so that you can add a nice little vibrato effect. I like keeping the speed around the middle and having it not synced with the tempo, but if you want, you can always sync it with the tempo. Vibrato wise, I keep it around 8 or 9. That's where it sounds good to me. Same thing with the tremolo. I keep it around -5 to 10 range because I want it to be subtle. But if we want to get weird, we can turn this up. We can also get weird with the pitch. Turns into more of a little laser or siren type thing. For now, I'm gonna keep these in the sweet spots. If we want, we can change the different shapes here and you'll get different types of sounds. I typically keep it on the sine, so it's a little more wobbly, which is what I enjoy. And then sometimes I use this to fade the effect in or out. This fades it in, and then this way you can fade it out. That's basically it. This is how you get a nice little lo-fi piano. If you enjoyed that or found it helpful, please like and subscribe. Also, tap on that bell icon to enable notifications so you're aware when I upload new videos. Lastly, join the Patreon, which is the best way to support me in this endeavor. You'll get sample packs a few times a month. You'll get new presets a few times a month, and you'll be supporting my dream, which I really appreciate.